Retro vibes for the modern mind. Welcome to NeoNostalgia with Craig and Ray. Your hosts talk pop culture from the 40s to the 90s. Tune in, have fun, and heck, you might even learn something. Well, let's not get crazy. Take it away, Craig and Ray.
Friends, welcome to the NeoNostalgia podcast with Craig and Ray. I am Ray Keating. Who are you?
I am Craig D'Onofrio.
Welcome, Craig. It's good to see you.
The one and only.
We are going to have some patriotic fun, I think, today. But first, real quick, NeoNostalgia. Neo as a new, nostalgia as an affection for the past. We talk pop culture from the 40s to the 90s, covering everything: movies, TV, advertising, radio, lifestyle, events, like what we're going to talk about today. And we put them together, and hopefully we have some fun, and perhaps we might even learn a few things. Before we get started, I hope you will support us via, well, first, subscribe, share, do all those wonderful things on wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast, but also head over to patreon.com/NeoNostalgia. Subscribe, sign up, help us out. You'll get all sorts of cool stuff. You can see all the levels that you can subscribe at over there. So having said that,
Yes,
this episode, we're in the midst of celebrating America 250. So we decided, well, what about the Bicentennial? We're going to take a look back at 1976, the Bicentennial. I have some knowledge of this, but you seem to be our patriotic go-to guy, right?
well, I enjoyed the bicentennial of these United States of America, and I have some recollections and a few different things. And one of the things that we're going to talk about that I guess you did not get to experience that I did at Anaheim Stadium, no less, was the Freedom Train. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Also, that was the first time that I ever saw someone selling bottled water, 1976, for
Really?
$1 a bottle in 1976. I mean, that's like paying like $8 or $9 a bottle now. I mean, that's just, it was, I remember the guy coming by with his little cart with the cooler on it and charging and it was hot and people were paying it. And I was like, I think I'll just pass out. Thank you. I'd rather.
Yeah, no Freedom Train where I grew up on Long Island. It was the Long Island Railroad, and it was before my commuting days, but I would say 1976 wasn't exactly peak Long Island Railroad time, or for that matter, peak New York City subway time. But having said that, what are you going to start with? Are you going to start with the Freedom Train or something else?
No. Let's start with this. You remember 1976, America was very excited about the 200th anniversary of independence from the evil British Empire. And I think we can all agree that tea tax was really over the top. The stamp tax and all that. I am certainly glad that we are not taxed at that level today.
Well, I think it was actually our taxes are more burdensome today by far.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, it was taxation without representation part that was really. Oh, and you know what? Trade. I mean, they limited us in so many ways, right? We couldn't trade with others. We could only
I kind of feel like we should be wearing our tricorn hats as we do this.
Okay. Episode. I have my Captain America, like
maybe some sort of muzzle-loading musket or something like that. But anyway. Do you remember, Ray, all of a sudden, everywhere you looked, there was the Betsy Ross flag?
Yes, right.
Yeah,
right.
13 stars in the circle, the original flag. And boy, that was huge in 1976. I remember that very, very well. It seemed like everywhere you looked, that was the 50 stars had been done away with for I thought maybe for good. I wasn't sure, but it just seemed to be for a year of my life. But anyway, so Bicentennial came around.
12-year-old Craig was like, what's going on? Where did those other states go?
Like, you changed my flag? What? I haven't seen that so much for the 250th anniversary. Have you?
No. It's more of a...
Now that we are in the 250th year here in 2026.
It just seems to be flags that, have either something like America 250 on them. That seems to be what I'm seeing. So
I remember there was 2, 3, 4 years ago when America was being turned inside out and upside down, that flag was deemed racist all of a sudden. I don't know why, but because
which flag? Which
some
flag was
the
deemed?
Betsy Ross flag was
Oh,
deemed
okay.
racist all of a sudden. I don't know why. It's weird.
We don't need to get into that.
People just say things and then that's just the way it is. I don't know. But
Fair enough.
anyway, 1976, huge nationwide celebration of American patriotism, history, pageantry, a fair amount of nostalgia, and some of the big events that were really, really all the rage. And of course, I think given that we didn't have the 24-hour news cycle, and we didn't have the internet and all of the things that we have right now, when things happened, they were just big, or at least they seem so much bigger than they do now because there's just so much stuff now. But there was Operation Sail in New York Harbor. Maybe you remember seeing that
I
on
do
TV?
remember that. Yeah, I remember that now. Yes. Yeah, I got that. I got that in
And
the back of my head.
so that was more on your side of the country. We didn't know
Yeah.
much about that on the West Coast, but I love me a good tall ship event. And when I lived in New London, Connecticut, they would have Sailfest, and they'd have the big um, uh, tall ships come in and everything. And of course, being in New London, that's where the Coast Guard Academy is. And so the Eagle, the Coast Guard Academy tall ship, the Eagle, was always parked right there. And so I'd see it every time I'd cross the bridge going to and from home and work. And it just always had that sense of nostalgia because I remember seeing it on TV when I was a kid. And now there it is, up close and personal every day going to work.
It's
And,
kind of weird because I have
all of that.
stronger memories about, and maybe we could do this on another show, the anniversary of the Statue of Liberty and it being refurbished. I have very strong memories of that, but I hate to say it. I mean, apparently 12/13-year-old Ray wasn't fully tuned in here, but I will touch on a couple of things later that do stick in my head about the bicentennial.
So
But you
was that
reignited that
was that
the
refurbished
tall
for 1976 or wasn't that after 1976?
No, that was later. That was during Reagan administration.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Lady Liberty came along later
Right.
with her getting fixed.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that type of event, the Statue of Liberty thing, really stuck with me. And perhaps it's just because I was older and so on, but as opposed to the bicentennial in terms of actual, hard memories of it.
Was that when they stopped allowing you to go up to, was it the torch or the crown that you can
The crown.
go into?
I was able to get, well, let's see. Right. They stopped it. I don't know. I'd have to, I'm guessing. I mean, I know when I was a kid with school, I got up to the crown, but we were not allowed to go up to the torch.
Probably a
So,
weight
I don't
limit
know.
on the torch or something. Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is, but I still remember looking out those iron, crown windows thing, as a kid, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've only seen Lady Liberty from a distance. I've never seen her up close. Oh,
Yeah.
I need to put that on the bucket list once.
Oh yeah. You got to go over there. You got to go to Ellis Island. What they do with Ellis Island is just glorious. It's a wonderful
Yeah.
place now. It's just fantastic. That whole thing. We went just a few years ago, to both, and I will go back when I get back to New York and have some time, because it's good stuff.
I'm a little nervous. We have records of my grandmother coming through Ellis Island. We cannot find records of my grandfather entering the country. I may get deported because I'm not sure that he came in legally. That's all I'm saying.
Not touching that. Nope, not going there.
He did become an American citizen, so whatever he needed to do, he did. So God
All
bless
right.
him.
Good
My
for him.
grandparents
And he
loved
risked
being
it all.
Americans. So
People
No.
risking it all and coming here is fantastic. So good stuff.
1975 is when it all began with the Freedom Train. The Bicentennial Museum that toured the United States went through all 48 states. So, Ray, you had a chance.
Right.
Maybe your parents just wouldn't drive you. I don't know.
Yep.
Ran
There you
for
go.
21
I'll blame
months.
I'll blame my deceased parents.
I think that's safe. Yeah. You should do that.
Yeah.
More than 7 million people made the pilgrimage to the Freedom Train. I think most of them were in Anaheim that day that I went because that line was long. Uh, but the idea came from a guy named Ross Rowland Jr., who was a commodities broker and a steam locomotive enthusiast who wanted a spectacular traveling exhibit for the Bicentennial. Now, he and John Wayne were on one of these trains together for one of these big events before the Freedom Train came along. And 1976 was coming up, and they were talking about this, and John Wayne saw that he didn't think that there was a lot of really cool stuff coming up for the Bicentennial, aside from the Betsy Ross flag and new quarters, which I love those quarters. But regardless, they started talking, and John Wayne says, what if we were to create a museum on one of these trains? What if we did this kind of cool thing? I've got friends who are collectors. We can get in touch with the Smithsonian and other organizations, and we could put together this patriotic showpiece theater that would go around the country. And they had 3 or 4 different locomotives that they'd swap out because they were actually steam engines. And I think they
Wow.
were really old. And so anyway, this kind of happened. 26 cars, 12 display cars, and it carried more than 500 artifacts tied to American history and culture. And you would come, and I remember this was really cool. It was almost like Disneyland cool because you'd start at one end and they had a moving conveyor belt through the whole thing that it was the moving sidewalk, kind of like
Hmm.
Disneyland. And
Right.
so that way no one could linger for too long on any one exhibit. They just kind of kept you moving along at about
Nice.
2
Yeah.
miles an hour, or mile and a half
Right.
an hour,
Very much
something
like a
like that.
Disney ride. So there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, move along. Nothing to see here. Move along, move along. So they had all sorts of neat stuff. They had George Washington's copy of the Constitution. They had the Louisiana Purchase. They had Martin Luther King Jr.'s pulpit robes, Judy Garland's dress from The Wizard of Oz. They even had a lunar rover on the train. And so it was
Wow.
just really this broad spectrum of the American experience for 200 years. And it was really cool. And so they had entertainment, sports, civil rights, space exploration, all sorts of stuff. The trains, like I said, were hauled by 3 famous locomotives, steam engines. And so during this time, there was the Reading 2101, the South Pacific 4449, and the Texas and Pacific 610. So all of you train enthusiasts out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I have no idea. But
And
anyway,
they'll be mad at you because you should have said Reading. I believe it's Reading. But anyway, go ahead. You
that one
said
too.
Reading.
So there were 4.
I'm just
There-
trying to cut
there
you
was-
slack from the train
was-
people attacking you.
There was the Reading 2101 and the Reading 2101, in case you didn't know that. They were painted a very cool bicentennial red, white, and blue livery with stars and stripes and all sorts of fun stuff. Because the country was largely dieselized by then, the sight and sound of steam engines pulling in was always exciting for all of the history buffs and the train nuts and everyone else. The Freedom Train stopped at 138 cities, drew huge crowds, like I said, and wherever it went, thousands and thousands of people would line the tracks just to watch it come in or pass by. And so that was what we did back when we only had 3 to 7 TV channels, depending on where you lived. You would go out and watch the train go by and say, wow, that was something.
So did little Craig go into it? I mean,
I
did you get to
did.
go in? Do you
Yeah.
do you have recollections of this? Like
Field trip. Well, like I said, yeah, you got on the conveyor belt, you moved
Well, I
along.
didn't know if you were. I know you. Yeah. Okay. So
Right?
you remember doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and you're getting ahead of me here because I was going to talk
Oh,
a
I'm
little
sorry.
bit about this. What people remember about the train, abstract history. You can physically walk through and you see and feel. I don't know, Ray, I know you've spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C. If you're anything like me, you've probably spent a lot of time spelunking in the Smithsonian. I personally, when I worked in politics, I spent a good amount of time in Washington, and every time I would go, if I could get 2, 3 hours just to go to the Smithsonian, see the Air Space Museum or whatever.
Oh, there's so much,
I
right? Yeah.
could go and just spend a month doing the Smithsonian. I mean, just amazing. So they had some of the best of the Smithsonian and that sort of thing there, which is really cool. Um, like I said, John Wayne was a person who was credited with inspiring the American Freedom Train, but in all reality, he was more of the PR man. He was more of the glamour and the glitz that kind of sparked a lot of interest and a lot of participation. So he was
Sure.
in touch with Hollywood and all sorts of collectors and that sort of thing. People who, would loan their collections and that sort of thing. So he was a real catalyst involved with this. And Roland was kind of the nuts and bolts behind the thing, being the train guy and everything. So anyway, that's kind of the background there. A lot of people came for a lot of different things. When the tour ended, the artifacts were returned back to the institutions and the owners and all of that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Now,
Hmm.
what the visitors came for, some of the really big things were the Civil War objects that were there, space age pieces, reports on trains contents, highlight items. I mentioned this: George Washington's personal copy of the Constitution, lunar rover, and so forth. Now, what Craig remembers, and it's funny, what a 12-year-old boy remembers that he sees. Do you remember basketball pro Bob Lanier? Played for the
Sure.
Pistons and the Bucks. They had his tennis shoes, size 20 tennis shoes. These things were, I mean,
Yeah.
they were huge. And 12-year-old Craig was not a little fella, but I just remember it's like I could get a paddle and go kayaking in Winnebago. I think it's weird the things that stick in your mind. So what stuck in my head were Bob Lanier's size 20 sneakers. And that's
That's what would stick in a boy's head that was like 11 or 12 years old. Sure.
right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Right.
It was around that time when I was on vacation with my parents and we were at this resort and there was a volleyball exhibition going on. And this was when Wilt Chamberlain was into volleyball in a huge way. And he was there doing an exhibition at this resort that we were staying at. And so I went and saw Wilt Chamberlain, got to meet him and shake his hand. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, it was amazing. But I remember looking up and I was probably 5'2" or something like that at the time. And
Yeah.
just going, dang, that guy's tall. So,
Right.
it was like Bob Lanier's tennis shoes, Wilt Chamberlain. I think Bob Lanier was a diminutive 6'11" or something like that.
Ah, yeah. Come
It's
on.
a little
That's
guy.
big.
I think it's a
Yeah.
little fella,
Not compared to Wilt the Stilt.
You're right. Right. So anyway, the Freedom Train was a hoot. It was great. I loved it as a kid. It certainly left a mark on me, as did that dollar water bottle that they were selling, which is
Whenever
just
you say
really
the
amazing.
Freedom Train, I go back to Holiday Inn with Bing Crosby and them celebrating July 4th. And he sings a song called The Freedom Man. And for some reason, that's what comes into my head. There's no relation. There was no train. It's just what pops into my head. This
Maybe
is the
the
random way Ray's
maybe the
brain
Freedom Man
works.
was a hobo who rode on the Freedom Train.
That's true. Well, Bing had a very nice Uncle Sam top hat when he sang the number in Holiday
It
Inn.
was a
So there
great
you go.
movie. I love that's one of my all-time favorite holiday movies there.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
I
what you needed was Dean Martin with his King of the Road singing on the Freedom Train. That would have been great.
Oh, yes, on the train.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that would have been great. So moving on to Operation Sail, which is on your side of the world, right?
Right.
The far
You're
side
going
of
to
the
tell
world.
me. You're going to tell me about it.
Yeah. So this turned New York Harbor into a huge maritime celebration on July 4th, 1976, featuring tall ships from around the world. International Naval Review. President Gerald Ford was reviewing the parade from the USS Forrestal. So there you go, that.
There you go.
So the event took 5 years to plan and was larger than the original, which was in one of the greatest years ever, 1964, the year Craig was born. So
Wow.
let's look at this. 1964, Operation Sail, huge. The British invasion, massive. Craig D'Onofrio born. I mean,
Wow. Can it
really,
get
I
any
mean,
better?
we could have just rolled up the carpet at that time and called it a day for Western civilization. Uh, 16 tall ships for the main parade, along with 113 supporting vessels on the original program. Uh, it recreated a historical feel of the grand sailing age, which, as I've mentioned before, I don't know if I've mentioned it here just to you. I am on my fourth pass through the Aubrey Maturin series of books, Master and Commander,
Ah,
the whole series there. So anything tall ship, I am all in. I am convinced that had I lived during the Napoleonic Revolution and I was in England, I would have probably been shanghaied and stuck in the bilges on some boat somewhere and wished that I was dead. But aside
I
from
would.
that,
I've never heard anybody talk quasi nostalgically about. Oh, if I was alive during the Napoleonic years.
like I said, I would have been like shanghaied and hating life. But
All right,
it was
I'm
a
going to put you on the spot. I'm going to put
miserable
you on the spot.
existence, but
I'm going to
a
put you on the
glorious
spot
miserable. Okay. Yeah, put me on the spot.
because you and I have talked about doing book and a movie episodes.
Yeah.
And you are going to do those books and the Master and Commander movie. I will come along with you, of course. I've seen the movie, but without getting too much into it, I'm putting you on the spot on the show. So it's out there. Can't get out of it now.
Oh, I thought that there was a question. That was just an assertion.
No, this is an assertion, putting you on the spot, just so people
Yes.
know. Anyway.
Yes, absolutely. I may have to read them a fifth time now, just
Wow.
because, even though I'm working on my fourth time right now.
No,
Yeah.
fair enough. So continue. I'm sorry.
Currently on the True Love, which I believe is book number 14, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, maybe someday I will become so infatuated with the Ray Keating novels that I will do likewise. By the way, get your Ray Keating books now. Go to, what's the website?
Ray Keating Books. No, RayKeatingBooksandMore.com. Shameless
and more.
plug. Yes, signed books over there. Or just go to Amazon. So there you go.
Do that
All
too.
right.
Yeah.
We can pull back from the shameless plug and you can continue on the Bicentennial.
So it all started in the Canary Islands, went to Bermuda, and then proceeded on to New York City, this giant flotilla of tall ships and all the rest. And so there they are, New York Harbor, Hudson River, on July 4th, 1976, the Eagle, the Coast Guard cutter, out in the lead. And there's Jerry Ford going, yep, boats. And so there you go.
Wow. Okay, there you go.
So countries that participated, honoring these United States, Italy, Norway, Denmark, Poland, Spain, the Soviet Union, I think they were spying, Chile, Chile, Argentina, Japan, Portugal, Germany, Romania, Colombia, and these United States of America. So there you go.
Wait, were the Brits there? I'm serious. Were the Brits there or not?
Hey, you know Kingdom? I did not say UK or anything, did I?
No.
You know what? I think they were still kind of butthurt over that whole Revolutionary War.
I don't think so.
I think they were. They're like, we're not going to celebrate your independence from us.
Anyway.
Can I say butthurt on this podcast?
Probably not. Who knows? I don't know.
If any of my parishioners are listening, deal with it. Yeah. There you go.
I'm concerned about like YouTube and places like that. But anyway, let's continue on.
No. That's not going to get you in. Well, maybe me calling out the UK for being upset over 200 years of our independence from them. Honestly, but I mean, we could go back and talk about, World War II and say you're welcome. So we can go there.
Yes.
I mean, it can go both ways. It's all good. So from the deck of the Forrestal, there's once again Ford, and he's remarking what a wonderful thing it is that all these nations are honoring our country. And so this was a huge event. People remember this whole event because it combined the visual grandeur of seeing all of these ships with the historical symbolism and the international cooperation In a single event, it wasn't just a parade of ships. It was a carefully staged national image of the United States of America celebrating 200 years of our country. So there you go
Nice.
with that one there. But we're coming up, Ray, and maybe this is where you can jump in. We are celebrating this year 250 years
Well,
of
before you go to are you going to go
freedom
to
here.
250? Are you going to go to
Well,
250?
this is
What are you
this is
doing?
where we can segue a little bit. So if you have anything to offer on 1976, we'll go ahead. And as I like to point out, you are the elder statesman here. So your memories of 1776, I will defer to you on that one because you're
On 1776.
yeah, 'cause you are much older than I am.
Wow. Wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
we need to figure
Well,
this out. How many months older you are than me? Because I know it's at least 6 because I was born in June and you were born
I was born in June, so
63.
there you go. It's 1
So
year.
you're like
So
a whole year older than me.
yeah, I was born on Flag Day, June 14th. So there you go.
Ooh. Wow,
Yeah.
you're like a year and a week and a half older than me.
Okay. Fair enough.
A year, a week, and 2 days. Were you born
yeah.
in the morning or the afternoon?
I don't know the answer to that. I was pretty young then.
I was born in the afternoon, and I've never been a morning person. Even when I was born, I wasn't a morning person. So
Fair enough. I have no idea. No clue. So as I
look
said,
it
I was
up.
pretty
Look it
young.
up.
I was little. Um, so I have two memories. Very clear memories. There are other things that kind of, you know, go around in the ether of my brain, but the two things that I remember was one, the stamps that were issued for the Bicentennial Celebration. And I think they were issued over a period of time starting in 1975, maybe into 76. So don't quote me on that, um, but I remember these, and strangely enough, because if you saw my office outside of the background, you would know that I never throw things out. So again, somewhere in a box, I have my little stamp collection. Yes, I was a philatelist. That's right. But
A
these
what?
really got a philatelist. These got me started on being interested in stamps. I don't, not an expert. It's just like fun when something catches my attention, and I'll grab some stamps or so on. But I came across the ones that were issued at that time and on the all-knowing Wikipedia. And I remembered all of them. I have them, as I said, I have them stuck somewhere in an album, but I didn't know who did the various paintings. So it's kind of interesting. So you've got the Declaration of Independence, which was 4 stamps across, and apparently that was John Trumbull's 1818 oil painting, depicting the introduction of the Declaration of Independence. And I think anybody that sees those stamps or that painting, they'll recognize it immediately. There was another set of 3 stamps. Archibald Willard, the Spirit of 76, depicting a fife player and 2 drummers leading the Continental Army. I think a lot of people remember that. Now there are others that I remember having the stamp, but I didn't know what. There's one with patriots using the printing press. I didn't get any more information on that. It just says the rise of the spirit of independence. 1773 depiction of the Boston Tea Party, as you mentioned. So that's there. The Sons of Liberty to protest the Tea Act. A gentleman named Haim Solomon, I just butchered that, was a colonial
Chaim.
pay. Haim was a
Chaim.
colonial paymaster who raised money to help finance the American Revolution. So he's one of the depicted in one of the stamps. Peter Francisco. I find this fascinating because they're not names that anybody really, I think, outside of true American
The
Revolution
the first one I
historians.
recognize, but beyond that, no,
Yeah,
not
Peter
really.
Francisco participated in the Battle of Camden, New Jersey. What did he do? He physically seized a 1,000-pound cannon while departing the battlefield after the British had defeated the
That's
Americans.
gutsy.
Yeah. Salem Poor participated at the Battle of Bunker Hill. and was credited with fatally wounding British officer James Abercrombie. There are three more that are where Sybil Luddington is said to have ridden through the night to advise Minutemen that British forces were raiding Danbury, Connecticut, where not far, I assume, where you are from. And then they have just Patriots, the Spirit of Independence with a drummer, and then also post riders announcing, the British are coming, I suppose, which was Paul Revere, right? So those really stick in my head, and they stick in my head because whenever I wind up pulling those stamp collections out, there they are, and I still have them. And so that's kind of cool, but I do remember actually going to the post office and tracking those down. And I don't think it was all at once. I think I made my mother go many, many times. But that sticks in my mind. And the other thing that sticks in my mind, I'm going to pull out for people that are watching. So for people that are watching, I have a Captain America shirt on. Big fan of Captain America. Someday
Yes, you are.
we will do an episode just on why Ray loves Cap. But so I purchased at the time Captain America's Bicentennial Battles, which wasn't a normal size comic book. It was one of those big oversized ones. I still have that stuck away in a box somewhere. But this is what I'm going to hold it up for people that are watching on video. This is what the cover looked like. There you go. Right? Very cool. That's Jack Kirby art on Captain America. So I had not read this in years. In preparation for this show, I read it. And it's kind of a fascinating comic book. It's a journey through time. The sorcerer guy, I think his name is like Mr. Buddha or something like that, takes Cap on this journey through American history. And it's not it's definitely a comic book of its time. So that it's not like, dark or anything. It's just quite the opposite. But it's these little moments where Cap, there's one where, Captain America, of course, goes back to World War II. There's one where he goes back and tries to saves Bucky, his partner, from Hitler and the Red Skull. He goes back to 1776. Captain America meets Ben Franklin and Betsy Ross.
Wow.
Guess where Betsy gets the idea for her flag?
I'm going to say Captain America's shield.
His whole suit. Excuse me. He goes and meets Geronimo, and he talks about, all of us being Americans and cavalrymen as well. I'm all broken up over this. He saves. Oh my goodness! All right, hold on a second. Give me a second.
Okay. Captain America mug.
Yeah, that's true. Look. So at one point he saves some trapped miners, and he's launched to a boxing ring where he gets in a fight with John L. Sullivan, who I believe was like one of the original boxers. Man, this is terrible. He helps a slave before the Civil War escape from bounty hunters. He witnesses the A-bomb test. He goes into the Chicago fires. He's at an underwater research lab, a future battle on the moon. He winds up in a Hollywood musical. And it's really kind of interesting. And the message is, at the end he talks about, because it's the good and the bad, if you will. It's not a it's a comic book, but it's a realistic take in the sense that there's good and bad aspects. But the ultimate message is confidence, hope, dreams, make it through the disappointment and the despair, for the chance to make a meaningful life in America. And it's a very American message at the end. So that always has stuck with me from that time. And I still have the book, and I gave it a read. And it's kind of, you know what it reminded me of? Billy Joel's song, We Didn't Start the Fire, where he just kind of, goes through and names all these historical figures. This was a type of comic book that I could envision a teacher at the time taking and saying, okay, see this, what, Captain America's doing here. Let's explore what actually happened in these various areas of history. So I don't know if anybody did that. They could still do it today, quite frankly. But it was a fun comic book that had some meat on the bone for kids, probably Ray's age at the time, and it was just a good message in the end. It wasn't a hagiography, my country's right all the time, no matter what, but it captured the greatness of America with the blemishes and what the underall, kind of American dream is about. So it's good stuff. And those two things, postage stamps and an oversized Captain America comic book, are what stick with me from the 1976 Bicentennial. And as I'm finishing, now my throat is allowing me to talk more clearly as opposed to when I was actually going through this. So there you go.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't pass out on us there. So that's good.
Fair enough. What anything else that you want to cover on the Bicentennial, my friend?
No, just coming up this year. And as a matter of fact, a lot of this will have happened before this airs, since we're kind of recording in advance a little bit.
Well, this will run certainly before July 4th. This will be posted.
So Sale 250, a repeat basically of Op Sale, will be coming to New Orleans, Louisiana, Norfolk, Virginia, Baltimore, Maryland, New York City, New York, and Boston, Massachusetts. Let's see here the dates. Oh, already missed some of this. New Orleans, May 28th through June 1st. Norfolk, June 19th through 24th. Baltimore, June 25th through July 1st. New York City, July 4th through 8th. Boston, July 11th through 16th. Of course, another tall ship event. More than 60 ships from 20 countries are coming in. It's going to be huge. I wish that I could be there for it. I'll probably find videos on the internet to watch. But that's going to be huge. There's a lot of other stuff going on, but it just doesn't seem to have the sense of excitement or the sense of grand pageantry that it did 50 years ago. And I really think a lot of that is we're just so inundated with information these days that nothing seems so exciting anymore because, like I said, when we were growing up, you had between 3 and 7 channels, depending on where you lived. And you didn't have a 24-hour news cycle. You didn't have all these things going on. And so when something like this happened, it was huge. And of course, now we're going to mark this with certain things like MMA cage fighting on the lawn of the White House and all sorts of crazy stuff. So the good, the bad, and the ugly, it's all coming this year. Stay tuned.
It's
reenactments of battles. I wish I was still in Connecticut because I lived a half mile from a Revolutionary War ground. And I will guarantee that they're doing something at Fort Griswold there. And I would love to be there for it. But all sorts of
you'd like to see it maybe grab. I mean, this is just Ray wishful thinking, Ray. You'd like to see it grab hold of the country.
Yeah.
In a bigger way than I think either of us expect. It's kind of interesting. I mean, you think about the timing without getting into just the history of it. America was not doing well in the 1970s. We're coming out of Watergate. It wasn't exactly, we pulled out of
right
Vietnam.
Off the Vietnam War. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't a 70s weren't a pretty time in general. But you had that people react to it in such a wonderful way. And maybe that's what they needed. Maybe that was part of the deal, that they needed something like that. You know what? I would argue, without getting into all the stuff today, we need that today too. And I would like to see Some good stuff like the ships sailing to the various cities and so on. No word on a freedom train, I assume. No, Craig?
There's the Freedom Truck that I just saw.
Freedom
I was like,
truck.
yeah, let me see if I can find that because I was like, what is that? That
It's a
was kind of.
it's a guy named Bubba. I got the freedom truck. I'm driving all
I
around
got a
country.
black truck. I painted it red, white, and blue. I got spray paint. Uh,
Sorry, couldn't resist.
got me some spray paint. We got a Freedom Truck.
That's right.
Let's see. We
That's
got
right.
the Great American State Fair and the National Mall. That's kind of cool. FIFA World Cup 2026. Really, that's an American thing.
It's
We
also,
call it
well,
soccer. The rest of the world calls it football. Come on. I mean, that's not an American thing, really. American Hero Student Art Contest. Teddy Roosevelt Presidential Library is opening. Oh, I didn't know that there wasn't one already.
where is that opening?
Rushmore.
Where is that
250.
opening?
Well, let's click on that.
Sorry, just
It's
I don't want to take up time.
North Dakota Badlands.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
All right, fair enough.
Where did I just jump on something that I saw there without?
That
I don't know.
sounds
If
really
any of
great.
you know where this is happening,
I've been to Teddy Roosevelt's home on Long Island, of course,
leave
which
some
is-
messages for us.
which is very interesting. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of Teddy Roosevelt, but it's his home, and being that he's a Long Islander is just, as a Long Islander myself, I had to do it.
IndyCar Washington D.C. street race, August 21st. That's American.
Yeah.
Indy.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Here's the
There you go.
Freedom Truck. Join with neighbors and friends from every state in the union. A fleet of 6 mobile museums known as Freedom Trucks are traveling throughout the United States in 2026, bringing the story of American independence to students, families, and citizens in every corner of our country. Click here to request Freedom Truck.
That
Your
sounds
location.
great. I don't want to see. And I said not so nice things. That's great. Sounds very cool.
You know what? I'm going to click here and request that they come to our church parking lot. I think that'd be great.
Okay. All right. Cool. It's fascinating to look back on these events, but obviously, look at the bicentennial through the lens of America 250 seems to have fit perfectly for our purposes, don't you think?
Yeah, and maybe it's just that we saw it through the eyes of a young boy, but there was that sense of renewal, of patriotism, of being proud of my country. This country is my country, and
You're not going to break into song, are you?
I was thinking about it.
Don't. Please don't.
Bust out in a
Please
song. Bill Swirlo, who I used to do a podcast with, he says, life is not a musical. And I said, you do not live in my head, because it is. It really is a musical. But anyway, regardless, but there was just that sense of, we live in a great country, and we celebrated that in 1976. And I hope to God we celebrate that again in 2026, that we find this renewed sense of pride in our nation. And I think I'll just kind of leave it there.
All right. I will say real quick for folks to, again, head over to patreon.com//NeoNostalgia. And you can join as a friend of the show, a Neo-Nostalgia nerd, a Neo-Nostalgia super nerd, or the creme de la creme, the Neo-Nostalgia ultra nerd. So please check all of that out. Thanks so much.
I'm going to propose that down the road we have ultra super nerds beyond the next stage.
Wow, what are you going to... All right, we'll have to decide what we're going to give those wonderful folks for their support.
Always a joy, buddy. A lot of fun.
All right, great. Take care, Craig.
We'll see you.
Neo Nostalgia was not recorded in front of a live studio audience.